Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Barn Table Talks. I'm your host, Benji Bonahay, here with my co-host, Travis Corman. Thanks again to Experience Ag and Land Pros for sponsoring us, keeping this going. Our special guest today is Matthew Tobias. Matthew, how are you doing?
I'm doing excellent.
We're really happy to have you on here. And
Well, thanks for having me.
We're going to start it off, as always, with an icebreaker question. I'm going to give it off to Travis here. Travis, what's the question
The
today?
icebreaker question is, what is your weirdest habit?
What is
According to your wife.
what is my weirdest habit according to my wife?
Or you, whatever comes to mind.
Perfect. I got it. Got a great one here. So my wife, we both work from home. My mother-in-law also works from our house too. We all have in-home offices. They share their own office, and then they let me have a separate room in our house for my office because they said I love to pace too much. They said they can't stand it when they're on conference calls and looking back because I'm pacing back there. And I get up and I'll go pace in their office too and stuff. So they said as soon as I get on the phone, I'm walking
You're a
a million
walker.
miles.
Yep.
So I'm a walker.
That's good. That's good. That's good.
We have one of those too, Ben. Ben McCoy's a pacer, and I think I'm also slightly a pacer too.
Mm-hmm.
It's just nice walking around.
You exit.
Well, I leave the building because
He does. He'll take a phone. He's walk. It's 3 degrees outside, and this guy's going out the front door to talk on the phone.
I do. It's great. You got a nice circle all around the building.
And then, like,
here.
in the back of my mind, I'm like, man, I'm gonna say something dumb on this phone call, and they're gonna hear and laugh, and then I'm just gonna start laughing on the phone call. So it's like I'd rather just go outside. But
When you realize that nobody's paying attention to your phone calls. We all have our own.
Maybe I'll get better on that.
We have our own burdens. Yeah. So mine's got to be I can't sit still. Like, and that's maybe not weird, but I'm sure my kids and my wife, whatever, like if I'm sitting at a table, my leg's bouncing. Like just the fast pace, like sitting in a church pew, like shaking the water on the table, like they're like, Dad, stop. Like weird, not weird. I don't know what it is, but that's what jumps in my mind right away. Is I've always got to be fidgeting something. You notice me sit my pen down to the side so I don't click it the whole time. For sure, Dave's gonna throw something, but I'm clicking the whole time. So, Matthew, I've known you. I've had the privilege of knowing you for a long time. So, my wife and you guys grew up together.
We did.
Yeah.
We did. We had our own little corner of Southwest Shelby County. So I grew up in went to Southwestern High School and knew Laura there for many years. And so, I grew up on a small family farm there. My dad worked construction. My mom also worked at the school. And so, we had some cattle and a few acres, but nothing major, nothing that anybody could sustain full time on the farm. And so I grew up there, had a great childhood, great neighbors, good community, and grew up into 4-H and FFA. And so I enjoyed my 4-H career, did 10 years of that.
What'd you do in 4-H? Yeah.
So I was big into junior leaders and also showed some cattle at the fair.
Okay. We just had a show cattle gal on here is explaining the ins and outs to it.
Yeah, how much goes into it? Because there's a lot.
Well, I was a very low budget seller, so I wasn't going to win anything. Had no desire. Well, had desire to win some stuff. Didn't have the finances. Didn't have the know how to do it.
It took a little while to close that gap and realize that sometimes finances equate to success.
That's right. So my brother and I, we always pulled stuff out of our feedlot. Whatever we had, that's what we was showing. That's what we was proud of, and we.
Probably what 4-H was truly meant to be.
It is. We had Charolais cattle, and enjoyed the white cows, enjoyed doing it. We enjoyed the neighbors. The highlight of the summer was going to the fair and seeing all your friends, being around them people, and just enjoying the atmosphere of it. So that was a big part of my youth was, in the summers was the cattle. I also was proud to be in the FFA. I did the FFA at our school. We had in the FFA, they have an SAE program. And so my brother and I baled a lot of hay growing up. And so, my dad and my uncles kind of helped us get started in baling hay. That was what we spent most of our summers doing. Other kids would go get jobs detasseling or, working in town or something. And we baled hay. We had a neighbor that really helped us out. He had some acreage, wanted us to bale on it, did it on the shares with us, and was very good to Jacob and I. Just a very, very good fella. So I always appreciated Ed, doing that for us and helping us get started in that. And that's kind of what got me started into ag was, I baled even through college and still bale on some hay and some straw. And
now this is square.
This is square. This is square bales. We did it all by hand, touched every bale by hand. Jacob and I were not small fellas, so we could do a lot of baling in a little time, it seemed like. So through college, we did it, came home in the summers. That was part of our part-time jobs. We got other internships and stuff and did that, but that was kind of our thing. So, around, 2013 or so, I bought my first V-rake, hay V-rake, and I thought, okay, I was hit it big.
He's going big time.
I started doing some custom raking for some neighbors, and
now you could get a windrow faster.
Yeah, you could. It was working out, and enjoyed that, and we kept moving along with that, and I got married a little after that and decided I don't want to spend all my time doing this, and so we
so then you purchased an accumulator.
We did. Before that, we bought us a round baler. Yeah. So back in 2015,
but the markets are different for round bales than the small squares.
It was.
Right? So it's not the same.
It's not.
You have the physical same product, but it's not the same product.
Correct.
Am I correct? Go to market products.
Correct. Yeah. So at that time, back in 15, we were still paying somebody to come in and do all our round baling for us. We didn't have a round baler. It was kind of on their schedule. So Michelle and I bought a round baler. That lasted 2 years because we bought an old rough one. And the second year is 2016. She was well pregnant that summer, and her and my uncle were following me with the pickup truck and getting out every bale and pulling on parts of it so we could make it wrap. And I was able to, luckily that year, after the birth of our son, she said, I think you can order you a new round baler this winter. And I said, yes, ma'am.
There you go.
So we did that. And then, like you said, Travis, we got into an accumulator system. I love giving back to the kids, in the community. I love to having them come help us bale hay. But on our schedule, it just wasn't going to work, consistently. So we went to...
So what is an accumulator, though? Just because I don't know much. What does it do?
Okay, so maybe explain the process. Start with how I want to say your generation, because I'm sure it was changed prior to that. But just start with your generation on like the process of cutting hay. What you did, how you made money.
What we'd do is we'd go cut the hay. We'd usually a disc mower, a disc bind. They had hay binds back in the day that was like sickle bars that would cut it.
So it doesn't chop it. Basically, it just kind of cuts it off and lays it over.
Yeah,
gotcha. You don't want it really mulched up. You want it to be...
I was very fortunate, never ran a sickle bar. I got to when they got the disc mower, and so it's looks like a lawnmower.
Okay.
And they got 7, 8, 10 of them across the bar.
Gotcha.
And mowing the hay off. And so it puts it in a windrow.
A little quicker.
Yeah. Can do a little more variety of different types of hays.
Yeah.
Your grasses, your legumes, even some other stuff in there, mixes. And so we did that. And once you get it on the ground, then you got to dry it out. We don't do wet bales. We do dry bales. And so
when you say wet or dry it out, I mean, like, this is for some knowledge of people that may not have that. Your crop has to be a certain moisture or a certain so it doesn't mold, so it doesn't rot.
Correct.
Right? Any of that, so that the spoilage doesn't cause an animal either A, not to eat it, or get sick through that process. What would that be?
Correct. So we were trying to get it down under 16, 17% moisture is where we're trying to get to.
Is that like a sight thing? Is that like you got something to test it with, or just
there's probes out there?
A lot of guys just know.
We've got probes that'll probe it and tell us what the moisture is.
Okay.
My dad and my uncles never would do that, and rightfully so. They had years and years of experience of feeling it.
So experience will teach you a lot.
Oh, it teaches you a tremendous amount.
Even take it to like grain, right? I mean, you can pretty much hand shell some corn off of a cob.
Yep.
You can pop it in your mouth and crack it.
You kind of tell what.
Really close.
You're within a few percent.
Gotcha.
Yeah, you'll find yourself really close if you have done that and stuff. So it's a very similar thing.
Yeah. So we'd take, and once you get it on the ground, then you got to dry it out. Like I said, now we got a tedder, and that tedder is spreading it.
It's fluffing it, right?
Yeah, fluffing it, spreading it out.
Where no air can get through it. It's picking it up and making it
make it a little
stand up off the ground.
Yeah. Want us to get up so it gets some air through it and to dry it out.
Okay.
Then you go back and then you rake it a day or so later.
And while this guy's praying for no rain. Every other farmer is praying for rain.
Okay,
in that time frame, right? I mean,
That is exactly it. And we're pretty good at making it rain for everybody else. You mow hay, it's going to rain. So
yeah, I mean, you have somebody upstairs supposed to be listening to somebody, but this guy's not.
You rarely hear the dry side of it.
Right?
That's awesome.
No, don't need it to rain. So
because that starts the process all over, or it beats the valuable part of the plant off on the ground, right? I mean, you lose the leaf, you lose the quality part of the plant.
You lose the quality part of the plant. You're
left with stem. You're left with stem.
You're left with stem, a moldy stem a lot of times.
Yeah.
Something that's good for bedding or mulching, but not anything that you're going to feed.
They don't pay you for that. Yeah, they don't pay you for that part, really.
Correct.
Gotcha.
So
you tedded it, and then
we tedded it, and then we go into getting it raked up. You'll rake it when it's about dry, and then we go in and bale it. We're either running a square baler and baling them into small square bales about 50 pounds that you can pick up by hand.
Gotcha.
Or then we're putting it in a round bale, a 4 foot wide by 5 or 6 foot tall round bale. That's 800,000 pounds that we can move with the loader and go feed livestock with. So the accumulator, what it did for us, instead of having a wagon hooked to that baler with high schoolers or my dad or I or somebody riding the wagon and stacking that accumulator, that bale comes out of the baler, goes into it, and ours puts 15 bales together.
in a big square. So it basically just organizes them, slots it, and organizes them into a 15 bale square on the ground.
That's exactly what it does.
Wow.
And so we moved to that because there's no labor in that. Very little labor in that. Got us a grapple on a little telehandler that we can go pick up them bales and set them on the wagon. That just
So now you took now you're trying to organize, all this extra, because very few one-man shows are going to last all day on the wagon. Right? I mean, that is an exhausting job. It's probably 95 degrees, whatever it is, right?
Yep.
So now you've taken this and said, okay, all I got to do is get it on the ground, and then I come back out and I can grab it and put it on the wagon or a larger trailer that's easier. The wagons aren't really, you can't pull the wagons at speed on the road.
Right.
And stuff like that. But you can put a gooseneck behind a pickup truck and you can really get to and from a field quickly.
So we've moved the last few years, we've moved to some bigger wagons that can hold 250 bales, or to semi-trailers is what we've eventually
And your normal wagon's going to hold 80 to 100.
Yeah. 80
Is
to
what
100.
you used to get on there and stuff.
Gotcha. That's awesome.
And that's sometimes that's loosely stacked, you know what I'm saying? So the accumulator allows it to be stacked tight. You have all these fingers that rotate and grab the bales as you pick it up, so it holds it tight. And then also you use the same process to offload.
We do.
Is that correct?
We do. And that's been where it's helped the most, is getting it offloaded. Because we'd used to back in when I first got out of college and in high school, we got to spend a day or two unloading wagons
You
somewhere.
got 2 or 3 guys in a mound, one guy throwing it on an elevator.
That's a pretty labor-intensive process.
I'm sure.
And now we've built a barn that's flat storage. You just pull in, drive in. It's all on the ground.
It's not going into the mouths.
It's not going into the hay mows anymore. We got less than 1,000 bales we put into a hay mow anymore. We put most of it on ground storage. So we're pulling in there. One guy can go sit and unload hay during the day. It doesn't take 3, 4, 5 people to do.
Yeah.
Now there's with that change and transition, of course, that's taken a lot of memories of having fun in the mouths. I mean, honestly, that was hard work, right? But it's an honest day's living. Like you felt like, man, I accomplished something today. You were beat and you slept good. But it's also taken the risk factor out of it too. By not stacking this stuff so tightly around a bunch of wooden beams in the top of a barn, right? I mean, we have spontaneous combustion. I mean, this stuff,
We do.
If it's not that 16%, 17, if you maybe have a leak in the roof or you get a hot spot, it'll just light on fire, right?
It could.
I mean, you'll just have a fire and you lose your crop, which is your inputs. And so
I've been very fortunate not to have a fire from hay yet. I've seen it smoking a couple times and pulled round bales out of the barn and let them air it out a little bit, but never had a fire where I've lost a lot of inventory. So been very fortunate.
I was going to say, there's one day, I had some family friends, they had a wagon full of hay, and they had a little elevator bringing it up, and then we were up there in the top of it, stacking it or whatnot, and I think we did it for 2 or 3 hours, and after that, I was like, I was in decent shape. Like I played football and whatnot, and I was like, wow, it's
a different shape. It's different muscles.
I was like,
different.
My arms, like I could barely lift them after. I was like, sheesh.
Yeah. It's a different shape. So, it's really different. I remember from my really young youth, back when I was in 12, 13 years old, my dad and my uncles, we'd have 1,000 bales on hay wagons to unload, and they might go get a water break after 700 or 800, but for them, it was just something going, we're going to spend a couple hours doing it and knocking it out. So
that's awesome.
That's fun. So backtrack a little bit. We kind of got the hay here and stuff like that. You mentioned that you got married. Was that 2013?
2014.
14. Okay.
2014. I married a gal right across the fence line. So I didn't go very far to get married. Michelle, my lovely bride, was on the opposite corner of the block as me. You think of a countywide block, mile by mile, and we lived on opposite corners of the block. So that worked out great for me.
Known her a long time.
I've known her a long time.
Right.
Mom and Dad had known her family. Dad had known her family, especially since they were little bitty types. So she's a great gal, comes from a great farming family, and I've been very blessed, been a very good thing for me.
Now, you guys mentioned also that you work with her. What do you do? So you do a lot. Let me preface this, right? You do a lot. I've known Matthew a long time, right? But you have multiple facets within and multiple businesses that you guys have formulated or been a part of over the years.
We do. So
you start down that a little bit.
Yeah, I'd be glad to. So Michelle and I have both worked for a company, ProAg. It's a crop insurance company. I'm a claims supervisor for them here in the great state of Indiana and cover parts of Kentucky and Tennessee also. She works as a marketing rep or a sales rep and works with the agents through the ProAg. So we're both able to work from home office. Her mother also works for ProAg and her sister. And so it's kind of, we all work in different areas of the company, but all work for the same corporate company, providing crop insurance to farmers.
Awesome.
Now, what does ProAg, what do they insure?
So we're insuring crops, here.
Just corn, soybeans?
We insure a lot of different things. So here in Indiana, you think of corn, soybeans, wheat. You get out of here, the state, we insure a lot of other things also. If it's a crop, it's probably insured by the federal government.
So from pecans to oranges,
tomatoes, oranges, clams. It doesn't.
So you've had a very interesting journey in experiencing different types of agriculture besides just what we have here.
I have. I've been able to, for the most part, I work here in Indiana.
Yeah.
But, if there's sometimes they need some assistance in other areas, I've done a little bit of traveling into Florida, California, Tennessee, Kentucky, Michigan, Ohio, Illinois, doing some other crops and things that we don't normally see around here. I am by no means an expert in that area.
If you're from out of state, you are, though.
You don't know that. That is very true. That is very true.
As long as you're out of area, you're an expert.
If you're out of area, you're an expert. I don't claim to be an expert. I'm just a helper. I'll go help. So, but ProAg's done a great job, and I've been able to go out and experience a lot of other things I not normally would have, just being from a little farm family here in Indiana.
So then what else? You got the ProAg, right?
So we got the ProAg. We also have cattle. So Michelle and her sister and father started a Smoothstone Cattle Company back when she was in college. And so what that was their 4-H heifers and cows that they kept over the years, kept them back, and they were raising the babies, and we was selling them as freezer beef to different people. I'm married.
Benefactor of one of those, and absolutely love it. Had some really nice steaks last night.
That's good. That's good. We like it.
I got a funny comment about that because Laura was telling me about how you guys have that, and she's like, "Yeah, he gave us a cow," and I'm like,
"No,
you guys have a cow?" I was like, "Sweet, why didn't I know?" No, like a freezer cow.
You thought it was like
I thought you guys had like a real cow, like in your backyard.
Like Brooks is running around now.
Like Brooks has a new friend now.
No.
No.
I was like, what? You guys didn't tell me?
No, nothing like that. Nothing like that.
So where's that located at? Is that?
So it's right there on State Road 252 there in Flat Rock with us. We keep after the mama cows that were breeding and calving are at my brother and sister-in-law's place across the way. And then once we wean them and bring them over to get them fat to ready to butcher, they come to our house, on the feedlot. So it works out really well for us. After I got married into the family, the girls and their dad decided that they could bring the spouses in. So I become a 1/6 owner, So that was a big thing. I always told them, I said, well, I've got a sixth of this.
And your vote still didn't matter, did it?
My vote still didn't matter. Vote still didn't matter. But Dan and I
pace in the other room.
Dan and I have bought a lot of cattle, trying to grow it, and we sometimes get scolded when we bring home some cattle. Sometimes.
Now Dan, is that your cousin?
That is my cousin. So Dan and I are cousins. We married wonderful sisters, so we're brother-in-laws. But we were always cousins first. But no, Dan and I work closely together also. So, not just with the cattle, but then we started farming together also.
Yeah.
And so,
a very unique relationship, I find. And I love where I get to sit because I get to see so many multiple different management styles and unique family dynamics that, that farm together. Some don't work, some get disastrous. Some you look and you're like, man, that is really cool. It's inspiring and stuff. Right. And I'm sure everything's had challenges. Everybody does with business and stuff like that. But I've always looked at what you guys do. It's kind of cool. It's inspiring. I mean, you guys have taken a successful generational transformation now, transfer. That's kind of speaking in itself. Like, there's a lot of times people say that can't happen anymore, and stuff like that. But I applaud you guys for that from our point of view and from my point of view, mainly speaking. That's pretty cool.
Well, I appreciate it. So it's exciting to be a part of, and exciting to be, see it grow and watch what we do and see how it transforms over the years, So.
Yeah. But you've already also planted the seed for another generation. We have.
So kind of with a little bit about our unique operation is there are 4 very distinct operations within our operation, within kind of an umbrella operation. And so we all have our own ground. We all have our own management style, our own decisions that we make, but we each bring something different to the table to help one another farm. So we're sharing equipment, we're sharing labor, we're sharing just
you realize that the collective is stronger than an individual. You guys have realized that and said, okay, there's differences and we can still have our differences and our uniqueness, but the importance of the collective outweighs the individual.
It is. It's fantastic. With the collectiveness of it, we've got us a head technician now. We've got us a head mechanic. We've got us a guy that does fantastic at operating and, clearing trees and getting stuff like that. We've got us a fellow that is really good at agronomy work. And he kind of heads up the agronomy work, kind of heads up what we're going to do that year, field process plans. And I'm not sure what I do, but they say I'm the public information officer. So I guess that's why I'm here today, fellas. So
how did that all form together? Like, was that one day you guys all kind of realized, hey, let's do it together, or was it over time? Like how?
It was over time. So my father-in-law, Mike Steinberger, him and Dan with Clark Family Farms, back in 2013 they bought a sprayer together.
When did Haley and Dan get married?
Haley and Dan got married in 2009.
2009, okay.
2009, okay. Yeah. So back in 2013, Mike and his son-in-law, Dan, they decided, hey, we're going to buy a sprayer together. We can make the payments on that without paying somebody else to come in do our spraying for us. So that was kind of the first collectiveness of it. That went really well for several years. 2019 rolled around, and what was 19? It was a wet year. You guys remember how wet it was and so that put some challenges in some things too. So they bought a combine together and they decided to run 2 combines still, but they started harvesting together that year. And all along, Michelle and I, we've got a few row crop acres, but we're doing hay and straw with my dad and my uncles. We've picked up a couple straw contracts along the way, where we're baling straw and selling straw. But all along, we've picked up a few acres and we're helping them. And so we really don't have much in the equipment side of it, but we've got a lot in the labor side. So we're helping them do quite a bit of the work there. So 19, they bought that combine together, started harvesting together. That went well for a couple of years. And then it's like, why aren't we doing more together? Let's just start doing everything together. Mike was getting a little older and, it was just kind of the writing on the wall. Hey, I'm going to need a little more labor
So
help.
this rolled into maybe we maybe be able to achieve larger discounts on inputs.
We can.
Any of that type of stuff that can really help overall profitability of everything.
Well, the economics of scale help tremendously. You're getting better discounts on stuff where, like we talked earlier, able to do more collectively together. So for the last few years, we've been farming as one big unit with everybody kind of still making their own individual decisions.
Awesome.
It's fun. That's fun.
That is neat.
So one thing you haven't mentioned, which I find interesting, is your wife. She has just as much entrepreneurial spirit and energy as you have. I know Michelle, not as well as some, but your Airbnb.
Oh, our Airbnb.
Man, where am I going with this?
So that's what I was wondering. Where are we going with this? So we have not got our Airbnb going yet. So we're working on it yet. But we've been very, very blessed in the last few years to be able to buy some ground, and with some ground has come some houses. And so we've got a couple rental houses that we've.
Instead of trying to doze them down, instead of flatten them out or something like that.
There's some old farmhouses and some different things. We've been able to sell one here or there just to help fund the other. And so
it also speaks a little larger. Like you guys have been involved in trying to get agritourism and stuff like that within the county.
We have.
We've had, what was the event that you guys hosted a couple years ago?
We got asked by Purdue Extension if we would host
the farm tour.
Farm tour. Be a stop on the farm tour. So at Dan and Haley's place, we hosted a farm tour back in 2022. So that's exciting.
Yeah, cool.
And so we built
you're involved with schools. You like to go up there. I mean, you're involved with the schools and stuff like that. But
we do.
This is still just even another piece that, whether it was directly or indirectly, it shows ag, and it shows, specifically Shelby County, southwestern Shelby County, like people that want to come in and just kind of see the area and stuff like that. It's going to give that opportunity to people instead.
So that's our goal. That's what we're wanting to do. Michelle and her mom are really good at, and even Haley, they're really good at wanting to promote agriculture, and promote agriculture not only in our community, but,
and educate with it.
And educate with it.
Yeah.
Angie sat on the soybean board there for a few years. We had people come from Europe, come look at our farm, want to see how soybeans were grown.
Active members in Farm Bureau.
We do. Right? We are very active members in Farm Bureau. Michelle and I have, spent a lot of time at meetings and helping with that, advocating for different roles in farming. And so we've helped out, at the fair with the 4-H and
FFA.
You
you've lived at the fair.
We have. For
years. You've lived at the fair.
I spent 10 years on the fair board. And so
anybody understands what that means.
Yeah. Did my stint on the fair board there for a while. I'm glad that I'm not on there anymore. Let some other people take over
Have
that.
an opportunity to succeed. Right?
That's right. That's right. It was a wonderful time, but we've picked up, enough extra work in trying to do an Airbnb, trying to farm more acreage and stuff. So something's got to give at some point. But still want to promote that and promote agriculture in our community. Yep. So
I think that's so unique. Just thinking about that, outside people coming in and being able to see a farming community and what it's all about. Just for me thinking back to when I was in high school.
So
be kind of cool.
You're going to laugh at this, Matthew. You're going to get enjoyment out of this. So we went to Europe, and Benji went over there to the Czech and to Prague with us, and we did some farm tours over there, which was really cool, right? But he's been with us now for 3 years.
With internship, pretty much 3 years.
Something like that, right? But we were going around to some, they had some livestock, had some cattle barns, stuff like that, had some calves. So Benji, put your thumb out there, right? He didn't know what I was talking about, right? Put your thumb out there. He almost freaked out when this cow started. He's like, "What?" Right? So he started trying to nurse, right?
Yeah, I'd never seen that.
It was hilarious.
Little baby cow just latched onto my finger.
But even a guy that's been around, for 3 years now, has not had that experience. And you think if you can offer not that experience, but similar things, people don't. You grew up with it. It's all stuff that you've taken advantage of, and you don't understand just being around that. So it'd be very unique if there's some things that can be offered, or people just can exist and kind of be around, and that's probably rolling around in all their minds.
It would be really neat. We've tossed out that idea. We're not in the agritourism yet, but there's a possibility that might come one day, especially if we would get this Airbnb going and be able to offer some sort of tours or something with it.
You just got to stop being on podcasts to get the work done, right?
I've got to start getting some work done.
Stop wasting your time on this podcast.
There's a lot of things you can waste time on, but promoting agriculture is not one of them. That's always a good thing to do.
But I do. I mean, your nieces, your kids, and stuff like that. I mean, it's fun because I get to see them and stuff, and it's fun because they are the quintessential young farm child growing up. Like they are running, jumping, having fun, doing like what I would say like I used to do when I go to my grandparents' house and be and stuff like that. And it's always entertaining on that stuff. It's fun.
Some days they come around and think, Dad, or Abel tells me, he says, Dad, now I know you like driving a combine, but one of these years, I'm probably going to take over doing that for you. I'm like,
and Abel's 8 years old.
He's 8 years old, 8 years old.
Dad, it's going to be the next couple of years. I'm taking over.
It is. So we load out a lot of bales of hay, round bales and stuff during the week. And so he's gotten pretty good at loading out bales for me. So he can do that now.
But that's too, like giving them the opportunity, early and letting them learn. And most people, you wouldn't put an 8-year-old behind a piece of machinery to operate and run,
right?
And stuff like that. That's neat.
Yeah,
so.
No, him and his buddies, they do pretty good. I let them help as much as I can, and they do a fantastic thing. And that's what we want to do. Is we want to try to encourage them. We want to try to create a place for them. If they want to come back and farm with us one day, hey, we're going to work at making a place for you to come back and do that if you want.
That's fun.
So based on all your experiences, and we like to ask this question, if you could go back in time to a younger Matthew, 15, 20, is there one piece of advice you would tell yourself that right now that you didn't know back then? One little piece of advice.
Gosh, I'd say probably one of the things I would tell myself is pay attention to some of the older people. What are they doing that, not mimic them, but ask them and work with them and try to, I look at the thing that I get the opportunity to go see a lot of different farm operations being a crop insurance adjuster. I'm on a lot of different farms in here, and I'm starting to glean more and more of that information off of that. If I could have told myself that when I first started this job 16 years ago, hey, you need to pay attention and ask more questions to these guys so you can work yourself, maybe a little faster.
Yeah.
But being patient, it's coming. So, it's coming. But that's the thing I'd probably tell myself is, hey, ask more questions, learn a little bit more from these people.
Listen more and talk less, right?
That's right. Yeah. That's right.
With age comes wisdom.
It does. It does. I was no information officer back then, I thought I might have been, but I wasn't.
My wisdom came with the public information officer role, right?
That's exactly right.
Came with the title. So, Matthew, I love having, growers on. And I thank you. You have so many different aspects besides just, the grower. And, you shine a light on a lot of this stuff. And I thank you for coming and sharing with us today. This has been fun.
Awesome.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Do you want to hit him with some rapid fire questions?
Oh, we'll bypass. I don't have them looked up over here. Yeah, we're okay for right now.
That's all right. We'll skip that one.
But rapid fire, that's good.
But yeah, thank you for being on here. We appreciate it. I learned a lot. I didn't realize that when Laura said, or Laura asked, well, Benji wants to know, what do you do? And you're like, well, what don't I do? So it's nice looking.
It's a hard thing, Matthew, for a very long time, which is a quality, but also sometimes a curse. It's hard to say no.
It is. It's hard to say no. I'm getting a lot better at saying no anymore, though. So
especially the kids. Now you have to say no.
That's exactly right. We got to go take care of the kids. The kids can't do that. We're out. So no.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for watching, and thanks again to Experience Ag and Land Pros for sponsoring. And hopefully catch you guys on the next episode.